So if you're anything like me, a Portlander who loves basketball, you're probably still riding that high that was watching Damian Lillard cold-bloodedly nail a 37-foot three-pointer at the buzzer to win Portland's first-round series with the less than humble Oklahoma City Thunder.
I mean, that's a bad shot. Care what anybody says, that's a bad shot. But, hey, he made it. That story won't be told, that it was a bad shot.
Now, what you may or may not know is this is the second time in Damian Lillard's career that he has hit a buzzer beater three-pointer to win a series against an NBA team. Those of you, especially probably from the Portland area, remember only 5 years ago, the 2014 playoffs first-round series against the Houston Rockets. Well, the Blazers actually came in as an underdog in this series, but took a 3-1 series lead and found themselves against the wall in Game 6, down by 2 with only 9/10 of a second, but Dame Lillard came out and did this.
A 3 wins the series. It's Lillard. He got the shot off. Lillard, good! Good! And the Blazers win the series for the first time in 14 years!
That shot was amazing enough, but his 2019 edition was twice as badass. Something else you may or may not know is that making a buzzer beater to win an NBA playoff series has only happened 6 times in the league's more than 70-year history. And Damian Lillard has accounted for 2 of them. That means he has a third of all these series-winning buzzer beater shots. And in this video, I'm going to tell you guys the story of the other 4. I'm Steve the Amateur Historian. Thank you for joining me today in this little trip down historical NBA memory lane. The other 4 times that an NBA player has made a buzzer beater to win an NBA series. Believe it or not, it took 40 years into the NBA's existence before its first series-winning buzzer beater was converted. This would come in the 1986 Western Conference Finals series between the seemingly unstoppable Showtime Los Angeles Lakers and the upstart Houston Rockets, who only years before were the NBA's cellar dweller team. But they managed to regain prominence by drafting, against the support of many people, they drafted 2 centers in back-to-back drafts, taking Ralph Sampson in 1983 and then Akeem, soon later to be known as Hakeem Olajuwon, in the 1984 draft. By 1986, the Houston Rockets had become a team to be reckoned with and fought their way to the Western Conference Finals in a series that practically no one gave them any shot of winning against the Los Angeles Lakers. Then, to everybody's surprise, Houston took 3 of the first 4 games in the series, taking us back to Los Angeles for Game 5, a game that if the Lakers lost, the series would be over and the Houston Rockets would be heading to the NBA Finals. It was a nip-and-tuck game the whole way, and literally came down to the final 30 seconds, with each team having a chance to seize the advantage with the game tied up.
Oh, yeah. Magic has scored 7 of LA's last 9.
They're going to Kareem.
Their money man, Cooper. Scott. It's Scott. Misses. Level with 1 second to go. Calls time. And there's 1 second for the Rockets to try to get a shot off.
With the Lakers' Byron Scott unable to convert on a jumper, Houston Rockets' rebound left them 1 second on the clock to try and draw up a play to somehow magically steal this win.
McRae will inbound. 1 second on the clock. Sampson. It goes. It's over. A miraculous shot by Ralph Sampson. Off balance has given the Houston Rockets the Western Conference Championship and a trip to Boston for the NBA World title.
Unfortunately for the Rockets, their next opponent in the NBA Finals would be the one team in the league that had played better than the Lakers that year, the Boston Celtics, who would quickly eliminate Houston in 6 games in the NBA Finals. Next on the list, we move ahead 3 years, the 1989 NBA playoffs, Eastern Conference first-round series between the favored Cleveland Cavaliers, who had home court advantage, and the Chicago Bulls with a still very young Michael Jordan. To this point, the Chicago Bulls were slowly becoming a stronger and stronger, more competitive team, a team looking to the future to try to compete with the likes of the Detroit Pistons and the Boston Celtics, who were dominating the NBA in the late 80s. But 1989 was a little bit of a struggle, and the Bulls found themselves an underdog even in their first-round playoff series against Cleveland. With both teams splitting the first 4 games, it came down to Game 5, an elimination game between these two teams. And as all great games are, it was back and forth, taking us to the final seconds, with each team, again, having a chance to steal victory.
Elo will inbound. He gets it into Nance, gets the ball back, drives to the hoop, and lays it in with 3 seconds to go.
This flawlessly run play by the Cavaliers may have gone down in history as one of the greatest season-winning plays, had this been all that was left to see in this game. Unfortunately for Cleveland, Chicago had the ball, down by only 1, and there was still 3 seconds on the clock.
Zellers has Jordan. Jordan with 2 seconds to go, puts it up and scores at the buzzer. Michael Jordan has won it for Chicago. Michael Jordan hit the basket at the buzzer as a disconsolate Lenny Wilkins leaves the floor, and for the second time today, the visiting team has won the deciding game in an opening round series, and the Chicago Bulls will move on to play the New York Knicks in the best of 7.
This shot, widely remembered as the move, brought Michael Jordan into even greater prominence than he had already been. This shot would propel the Chicago Bulls further into the playoffs, where they would once again end up matched against the Detroit Pistons, who would eliminate them in the playoffs. This series would replay itself out in 1990 with the Pistons winning again, but by 1991, Chicago would finally get over that hump, sweeping the Detroit Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals that year, before going to the NBA Finals and winning their first ever title in a 4-1 series victory over the Los Angeles Lakers. For the third installment in this series, we have a touch of deja vu. 1993 Eastern Conference semifinal series between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Chicago Bulls. Only this time, the Chicago Bulls had established themselves as the team to beat, not only in the Eastern Conference, but in the whole league. And here, in this series with Cleveland, Cleveland no longer had the home court advantage or the better record. In fact, they were staring a sweep right in the face. Chicago had taken the first 3 games of this series, and with Game 4 in Cleveland, the Cavaliers fought and clawed and did everything they could to salvage their season and to keep this series going.
Nice job. Nice creating there. Wilkins, that is a 3. Stolen by Armstrong. What a big steal that is. Pippen to Jordan. Doherty, that'll be his 6th foul. As he fouls Pippen.
But ultimately, once again, in the final seconds, the Chicago Bulls would find themselves in possession of the basketball, and of course, who else were they going to go to other than Michael Jordan?
Good job, Gerald Wilkins. Well, you just have to come. You just have to come. 2.5 seconds. Jordan again. You just have to come. Done it again.
almost from the same spot.
Well, you know, you don't take the ball out of his hands. You give a chance for things like that to happen.
He is amazing.
I just think you have to take the ball out of the guy's hand. This has happened far too many times.
This series has ended on another remarkable effort by Michael Jordan. At the buzzer.
While not as widely remembered, I actually see this shot as a more difficult shot than the one he converted in 1989. In 89, the coverage on Jordan was blown. It was a step to the middle of the key, jump, shoot straight at the basket type jumper. And in this case, in 1993, Jordan not only had the ball tipped away and had to regain control of it, he was being viciously defended by Gerald Wilkins and ultimately had to just fend him off and then just fade away with defensive help coming his way and hit a fall-away jumper that was almost a three-pointer. Either way, the Bulls swept that series, managed to defeat the Knicks in the next round, and went on to defeat the Phoenix Suns in the finals that year to win another championship, their third in a row, becoming the first team to three-peat since the Boston Celtics way back in the 1960s. And the fourth and final one on this list, coming from the 1997 Western Conference Finals. Yes, that means there was a 17-year gap between series-winning buzzer beaters until we would see Damian Lillard do it in 2014 against Houston. In this one, we had the Utah Jazz fighting and trying to finally get over that hump just into the NBA Finals, playing the Houston Rockets, who had attempted to make themselves somewhat of a super team, but a super team of aging legends being led by Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler, and Charles Barkley, all players in the twilight of their career. But the Rockets still were one of the top teams in the league that year, while the Utah Jazz found themselves in the Western Conference Finals for the fourth time in 6 seasons. They made it there in 92, were defeated by Portland. They made it in 94, were defeated by the Houston Rockets. Made it in 96, and were thwarted by the Seattle Supersonics, a.k.a. the Oklahoma City Thunder, who Dame just nailed a three against. In 1997, however, this was the first time that the Utah Jazz were the favored team to win the Western Conference Finals, having home court advantage. But the series looked anything but a sure thing. After winning 2 games at home, the Rockets would claw back into the series and tie the game on a shot from 38-year-old Eddie Johnson.
Drexler outside, Maloney, Johnson at the buzzer!
Tying the series up at 2 and sending us back to Utah, where the Jazz would eke out a Game 5 victory, but once again find themselves up against the wall back in Houston, trailing by as many as 12 points in the last couple of minutes of the game. But they would scratch and claw, draw the fouls, get the shots they need, and ultimately find the game tied up in the final seconds. All they needed to do was convert one shot to finally get over the hump and get into the NBA Finals.
Russell will inbound at half court. Stockton, open three. John Stockton sends the Utah Jazz to the NBA Finals. John Stockton finishes with 25 points. The last 3 at the buzzer. What a way to answer Eddie Johnson's winning three-pointer in Game 4.
And what a great moment for the Utah franchise. Their proudest moment ever. Breakdown defensively. Nobody stays where Stockton. Barkley has to come out.
We have never seen this kind of emotion from Stockton and Malone, and finally their day has come, but the catch was too easy, and Stockton, who had been the hot hand in the quarter, finishes up the game 15 in the quarter with that 3.
This was a major coronation for the Utah Jazz, who had both had John Stockton and Karl Malone leading their team for over a decade and yet never making the playoffs. And while they would put up a valiant effort against the Chicago Bulls in the 1997 finals, ultimately the Bulls would take the series in 6 games. And in fact, in the following year, 1998, the teams would rematch with Utah the favorite to win, and Chicago won in 6 games again. So that's it. The other 4 times that an NBA player hit a buzzer beater to win an NBA playoff series when it wasn't Damian Lillard. So when you think about it, it's only happened 6 times. Damian Lillard is tied with Michael Jordan in terms of the most shots made to win a playoff series, both with 2. And then you have Ralph Sampson and John Stockton rounding out the field. It's not utterly shocking, but it's pretty amazing to think with how long the NBA has been around and how many playoff series have been played, everyone having an elimination game, that a series has been won on a buzzer beater only 6 times. But I gotta say, I'm elated right now to see what the Blazers are going to do now in the second round, where I know they can compete with either San Antonio or Denver, whoever wins out in that series. But that's to worry about at a later date. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, but be chill about it. You can even hit up my Patreon. Link is in the description if you want to help me out that way. I appreciate it. And all that said, thanks again for watching. Until next time, this has been Steve, the Amateur Historian.